and welcome to the Fluid Voice. I am Ozma in the Dark, still rocking she, they pronouns, and I am here, as always, with Christy, Abbey. How are you doing?
Very depressed, so I'm light blue jazzing she, her pronouns.
Fair. And as usual, Perfict is also joining us.
Yes, EM pronouns.
Our resident cisbert. Cis
expert.
Yeah, there we go. And we are joined tonight by Katia Odinsen. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I use she, her, or they, them, interchangeably, whichever.
Yeah. That's why I legit just shortened it to she, they, because I'm just like, it's less writing. And by the way, this is a pre-record, and also the topic is paganism. Sorry, we were doing that way too much before the show. And way too much, by way too much, I mean once. I'm overthinking things. But that said, like, comment, and subscribe if you generally enjoy the content, and hang on in for a smooth ride into conversation. So, you have three atheists here talking with you, Katya, about paganism. So, obviously, actually, we'll get to you last, mostly because we know you know a lot. And generally we do, like, the introduction of our general thoughts or whatever about paganism. And, like I mentioned before the show, I'm not super familiar with paganism. I'm more familiar with Wiccan stuff. I know my parents had books about Wiccan related books, and I can't even verbiage correctly with that stuff. See, that shows how little I actually know. I just know a lot of tidbits just in general with religion. Christy, I know you are a religion I wanted to say a religion expert. You have a theological degree, right?
It's paganism is a really, really broad term because it basically means anybody who doesn't believe what you believe. I mean, it's a little more specific than that. But I mean, whether you're talking your common Hellenistic or Neo-Nordic, or the racist religions, which we don't want to get into. I didn't know this was the topic. I actually wanted to, at some point, deal with the Urantia. That's because I'm finding that fascinating right now. Speaking of racist religion, but yeah, the first and second Mrs. Abbeys are both Wiccan, so I have that much going on in my personal life here. I don't have anything to say until we actually get into a stream of topic.
Yeah. And perfect. What is your knowledge and thoughts about this? And just quick before that, just because I want to make sure I made my thoughts clear. Religion is on. There may be it is possible there are parts of me that have an anti-theist type feeling, but religion is so far on the bottom of anything I should care about, and honestly, mostly people just enjoy it. I just wanted to. And so, like, whatever. So I guess not really anti-theist at all, as I originally said. Anyways, perfect. Your thoughts?
Okay, I dealt a lot with, talked with many people who were pagan, and Wiccan is something I'm a little bit more familiar with in my personal interactions. Don't embrace either myself, but yes, I also view them as being some of the better and best religions. And for instance, in relation to this show and its topics, I think that they, so far in my experience, they are much more welcoming of transgender or non-binary as being concepts they're willing to accept than a lot of religions.
Fair. And Callan, or not Callan, wow. Wow.
Wouldn't be the first time we got confused.
It's not even that it was confusing. We had Callan on the show. I know Callan. I asked you because you were, partially because I knew about you from the same show. And apparently I'm just like, religious on Transgarter? They're all Callan. Anyway, Katia. You are obviously much more familiar with this. So I mean, I guess let's start out with your general thoughts.
Okay, so just because you all mentioned you're more familiar with Wicca, which is makes sense because that's tends to be one of the more common branches. So like Wicca is generally seen as neo-pagan, whereas I'm more Reconstructionist. And the difference there just being like Reconstructionists, it's not that I'm saying like one is better than the other, but Reconstructionists tend to put a lot more focus on trying to recreate things in their practice from how things were historically done, whereas neo-pagans may or may not do some of that, but that's a little bit less emphasized. I do want to mention in regards to racist paganism, that is definitely something to watch out for. In pagan circles, we call that folkism, which there's a Declaration 127 is something that came out against that from the heathen community, which is like, that's sort of the Norse pagans, which heathenry is one of the traditions I practice. I'm actually multi-traditional. But in condemnation of some of that, there's also a fellow named Beofeld came out with something called the Declaration of Deeds that makes anti-bigotry a little bit more clear. And then as far as Hellenism goes, there's the Xenia Declaration, which is also just because, you know, just like anybody has the toxic members of the group, and then the non-toxic people have to kind of condemn that. But yeah, you're all absolutely right that generally speaking, most pagan circles do tend to be a lot more welcoming of trans folks, including enemies. And part of that is, especially from a recon perspective, I mean, it can be true in Wicca too, but Wicca tends to have this duotheism, which I have some issues with because I don't really like seeing things as masculine versus feminine for obvious reasons. I'm gender fluid.
The correct choice, like, by the way. No, just...
but like even with Wicca, the masculine feminine thing, it's like Kellen and I were talking about it the other day. Those are just primitives. You can really use anything for that, but that's Wiccan specific. You can actually view from a lot of recon perspectives. Now, I don't claim that like I am like the end all be all. There's different valid interpretations of varying traditions. There's a lot of room for personal gnosis and personal beliefs.
I mean, I think to some degree that's true of every religion out there. I mean, you have Christians who are totally fine with people being trans. You had how Christianity was in America, which was very anti-capitalist, because there's a decent amount of anti-capitalist churches due to, you know, all the Jesus against capitalism stuff in the Bible. But obviously people's interpretations and feelings about that and how it's applied, they changed over time.
Yeah.
When I want to do a quick apology. When I said neo-Nordic, I also meant to include Reconstructionist Norse. That was just a slip. I was like, okay, I have a list in my head, and I missed a couple. So because I have the one I have the most familiarity with is Reconstructionist Norse. So
yeah, no, I feel you. Yeah.
And I totally blew it there.
Oh yeah, I feel you. It's a large part of that is like, don't get me wrong, like I'm heathen myself. Like that's as far as the traditions go, most people know of me for of that one. Largely because it's the one people don't expect, because people know of me as this mutualist, communist, trans girl. So when they find out I'm a Norse pagan, I gotta explain. No, trust me, we're not all folkists, I promise. But yeah, so I get the confusion. The trouble is, like far right groups and stuff like that tend to like to use Nordic imagery, which doesn't make non-problematic heathens particularly happy to see our gods used that way. But then the other thing that's kind of nice about oh, sorry, did I get somebody off?
Oh, no, I was just gonna say that.
No.
I mean, obviously, Loki cross-dressed, and just there are a lot of deities in just about every religion that don't follow the binary, and so to have it used in such a way to promote, oftentimes, specifically Christian values, because obviously Germany was a Catholic nation during World War II, but they used Nordic imagery.
Yeah.
Even the term heathenry has been sort of co-opted. I'm just saying.
Yeah. It's in the process. That's a fight that's still happening. But like, yeah, it's really the one that in heathen circles, the term that is a little less. And my buddy Ocean did a video talking about some of the terms that I recommend checking out in regards to finding a label for Nordic types of paganism. But yeah, the term that kind of gives a lot of red flags, even though it used to not be problematic, is Ausatru. And that's largely because the AFA is like the biggest folkist specific organization, and they are just, yeah, they're transphobic, they're racist, they're not a good group. But even before that happened, though, Ausatru was not as problematic. But like when far right people get their hands on things happen. But yeah, it is like Ozma was saying, and if I get anybody's names wrong, please correct me immediately. In terms of pronunciation. But yeah, but yeah, there's in a lot of pagan traditions, the gods are typically not seen as constrained by some type of gender binary, which, like, the gender binary is, even like in the first place, is a post-Christian or like post-colonialist type of, I should be more specific, post-colonialist type of concept in the first place. So like inserting the binary on pre-colonial gods is actually anachronistic in the first place. Because like, the binary was created and like largely for control reasons, to promote transmisogynistic power structures and things like that, that of course would not show up in religious traditions that predate Christianity. And you see that even with how the gods interact with each other. A lot of things that seem like they're just fully changing gender in the lore, all kinds of things.
I got the impression, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I got the impression that a lot of that some of the early imperialism and focus on the binary started to crop up more with Roman interpretations of Greek gods. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Is that wrong? Am I just like completely? Am I pulling something out of my brain that my brain actually just made up?
I wouldn't say that that's wrong. Okay, go ahead.
Here, you really have to split the Roman periods up if you want to make that claim. Because
yeah, that's true.
The more Hellenistic Roman, the pre Jewish uprising, which was a big deal. Mostly, they kept a lot of the Hellenistic. There's a lot of trans stories in the Greek mythology that carried over into the Romans. They had the very similar stories, although they were a little more elaborate and a lot less judgmental about.
It was probably me mixing things around because I know. I'm sorry, I'm saying this poorly. I was looking up something else.
What's that?
Caesar was the Roman guy, right?
Yeah.
Who took over things and hammered down the fascism.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if I'm saying that. I know I'm saying this poorly, so I apologize for that. There was more politics in the going anti-gay and anti-trans. Although the Catholic Church, just to throw it back to something, did not become anti-gay until post-Augustine.
Yeah, that stuff is just... It's weird, and I assume it has something to do with fascist reasoning of making powerful nations by saying that men and women must fuck to breed an army to take over more, or to show our power with wars or whatever. But that gets way off. To some degree. From paganism.
Well, yeah. I mean, when I say political, the more famous transgender emperor, which I'm going to completely butcher the name, which is Elagabalus, was more in trouble for marrying a commoner than for being wanting to have female parts.
Yeah, history is weird. So back to paganism.
I'm sorry. Well, I mean,
it was It was largely my fault.
That's okay.
Unintentionally. What I was
looking up real quick was just it's an anecdote I remember, and I wanted to just make sure I got the bits right. So, but it actually, as I'm thinking about it, doesn't go here. It goes for the general. Let's bat some trivial shit back and forth.
Katia, you mentioned toxic elements in the pagan community, and I realize to some degree that's what people will see, but I mean, I guess are there tells? Is there any way you can or what ways is it easy to distinguish if a person is simply a toxic pagan?
Oh, that's a great question. And there's more than one kind of toxic pagan, but like I would consider, like, for instance, Dianic Wiccans to be pretty toxic because they tend to be like pretty turfy, because of that really emphasis on the feminine and stuff like that. And with that, you can just kind of tell the telltale signs of, they're going to say turfy stuff. But in more general, like in the case of heathenry or Hellenism, one of the biggest ones that's more obvious than you might think is if they ever make the claim that heathenry or Hellenism are ethnic, like if they ever make the claim, yeah, it's an ethnic religion, they're probably a folkist. And something that my wife's pointed out to me a few times that's I think is a really good thing to notice is that a lot of times folkists will also appropriate arguments that indigenous people make that like make sense in that context, but wouldn't make any sense for a white person to be saying. In regards to like closing it off to protect it or whatever. Like you can kind of see where contextually that might make sense for one group, but when another group that already has power and privilege is doing it, it's more than a little yikesy.
I am suddenly remembering a Twitter conversation recently. I'm like, I can't remember if. Yeah, wait. I think that might have been you arguing with someone who was making those sorts of arguments. I forget that I follow you, Katia, apparently. I forget that I follow you on Twitter. And, I mean, so... I see... yes, they're also pagan. They're also pagan. There are also toxic elements of every community. And I don't know, I guess for me, one of the things I guess I tend to ask questions about goals is what I do when it comes to toxic people, because oftentimes there isn't an answer that they give.
Can I throw one thing, because you're asking specific, how do you spot them in the, it seemed like, how do you spot them in the wild, the toxic people? It brought to mind my now former best friend, but that had nothing to do with anything I'm about to say, who, he's 6'4", he's the blonde and red hair and gigantic person, wears his biker colors everywhere. He's got vested with the ripped sleeves, and has got the Midgard serpent and the I've always been terrible with pronunciation. Ixigrill tattooed on his arm.
Yggdrasil?
Yeah, okay. The World Tree. Let's go with World Tree. And
I know what you're talking about.
I mean, all the things that say, okay, here comes trouble, but also is he's very active in LGBT rights, and was very supportive when I came out, and married a bisexual black woman. So
Oh yeah, so you'll find that in heathenry, especially. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, it's just so everybody would think, okay, here comes the racist Norse guy, and no, you can't really tell from the wild.
Oh yeah, yeah. You'll find that in heathenry, especially because of that reputation. a lot of the non-toxic ones tend to be some of like the most progressive, farthest left people on the planet. Partially, I think some of that has to do with compensation, but then another part of that is if you're actually understanding like what the lore and values of heathenry are, when you do separate it from the modern misinterpretations, it actually kind of, it's hard to say that any branch of paganism mandates anything, but it's pretty easy to make the case that heathenry, in many ways, does kind of mandate pretty progressive values when properly understood. Like the whole idea of reciprocity is huge in heathenry, and not every heathen does this, but I personally take that to like economics and stuff like that. I'm a socialist, so I'm surprised there.
Yeah, surprise.
You're surrounded by them. You're surrounded by them.
Except Perfect.
Right. Except Perfect.
It's fine. We'll slowly move you towards social democracy, at the very least. Perfect.
Okay.
He's as close as we get without going over the line.
Well, social democracy is the closest to capitalism that I can think of that has at least some aspects that I agree with. But yes, I don't want to go into that too much because I also scheduled one of the pre-records I scheduled because I asked too many people, and the Fluid Voice is not scheduled until April. We're going to talk about capitalism and socialism. We're going to go into in depth on that because we don't talk about socialism much on this channel, or do we?
No, we don't, which is sad.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's why I was like, you know what? Let's talk about capitalism critique. Whatever. That's later. Paganism is now. I need to get my head into the game. Is what's going. So,
maybe it's my ADHD, but everything seems to be cohering to me.
I mean,
fair. I'm gonna side story again.
Okay, I was just gonna say that I didn't want to side track. I didn't want to move stuff away from you, Katia, since you're a guest.
I had a conversation with Ali on my channel that it was we decided before I started recording that we were just gonna talk because I'm autistic. She's ADHD. We speak the same language in a lot of ways. So I understand why sometimes it's hard for people to understand this show because I'm autistic.
I'm autistic and have I've been diagnosed with ADD in the past, and I'm pretty sure that diagnosis was accurate. Although I want to get a more recent diagnosis so that I can get medication to deal with some of the negative aspects of ADD.
So if sometimes it seems confusing to the audience, that has something to do with it. And
Perfect is also on the autism spectrum, if I recall correctly, right?
Yep. Yeah.
The trick is even people who knew me well, when they tried to watch that episode, could not follow it. So one of the things we've been talking about a little bit here as to the way we do things, but ADHD people, we love you, obviously.
Yeah. But Katia, I know this.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to distract.
I know this is probably a bit closer to an interview question, but was on my mind, so I'm asking it.
That's my job.
What drew you to paganism, Katia? Because I know obviously this isn't like paganism isn't super common in America, and Christianity is definitely shouted from every rooftop. Or at least it feels that way. I was born and raised Jewish, so like you really hear it's like a lot of things. If it doesn't apply to you, you hear it more. But yeah, Katia, what drew you to it?
That's a good question, and I'll definitely try to answer as clearly as I possibly can, but it's pretty complicated. So
Understandable.
What really started it, yeah, what really started it, and this was long before I became like recon specific or anything like that, was I was actually raised Mormon, like the Latter-day Saint cult. And I am using that harsh word there, but I think it's apt. And in Mormonism, you have this form of toxic Christianity, basically. But something that was interesting about it was the idea that you have a heavenly mother that you're not allowed to talk about, which is not usual for Christianity, but it's there in Mormonism. And I wanted information about that initially. Like, wait, I have a heavenly mother. I keep out the heavenly father and Jesus guy. I want to know more about her. And then I found out that there were people who worshipped goddesses, and it sort of went from there. I kind of like started studying. I started out studying two things simultaneously, and this I had to be like 17 or 18,
Yeah.
which were Wicca and theistic Satanism. And the reason why was because I felt like the Mormon church was, it sounds a little silly now because obviously this is kind of true, but I felt like they were hiding stuff from me. So I wanted to kind of know more about Heavenly Mother, and also I kind of had the thought as a teenager, I want to know Satan's side of the story. There's two sides of every story, right? So let's hear him out too. And that sort of got me into really doing a lot of like meditation and praxis, which praxis, not in the leftist sense, but in the religious sense, being like working with like rituals and stuff with goddesses and deities. And from there, that opened up what is called a lot of personal gnosis, which in a pagan context, I have a video on it in my main channel, is sort of just like a religious experience. And that led me spiraling into a lot of phase as a Christo-pagan, and then Christianity just wasn't really doing it for me anymore. So gave up on that completely and just kept moving as I got older, deeper and deeper into various pagan sects. And here I am. That's kind of what happened.
Out of curiosity, did you accept the priesthood or no?
I did. I was a since I'm oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you keep coming popping in and out with your audio.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's my internet connection. I think it was saying it was bad a second ago. Yeah. Do I sound okay now?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, I
Nope, we lost you again. Oh dear.
Oh dear.
I'm still here. I'm here.
Oh, did you stop or did the internet?
Oh, I thought I was talking over Christy, so I stopped talking. Sorry.
Oh, no. I'll tend to do the same. So it's okay. Because a lot of one of the things I've seen. Well, Mormon was my last stop on the way to atheism, so it was an interesting stop. I was taught Mormonism by an imam who went to BYU, because my life is like that. I'm gonna go with pseudo-pagan, but it's sort of like handed down and distorted pagan stuff that's in the Mormon Church is one of the more interesting things about it to me. And the Heavenly Mother, they do have answers, but they're just not very good ones. So
yeah, I feel that.
You have to be a bishop or something, or actually you have to be a bishop or a stake president to know about that, because knowledge is hidden until you're ready for it.
Oh yeah, they don't tell you the whole theology until you have the endowment ceremony. You think you know the whole theology, and then you go through the temple and you realize, oh wait, no, there's an entire context here that I wasn't initially told. I feel like a lot of Mormons, when they go through the temple, that's either when they become super Mormon or when they leave, because it's not what they're used to seeing. And like, you can find a lot of the temple ceremonies and stuff online, that much to the LDS Church's chagrin, but a lot of it came from Freemasonry, which in turn, like, it's the preserved by the Catholic Church. And just like with a lot of Christian traditions and other traditions and stuff like that, there's a lot of stuff that probably came from pre-existing cultures for sure.
Well, without using folkism in its older term, the society is racist, but they're not in particular. A lot of the focus stuff from Dutch pagan, the hand-me-down stuff that the Dutch pagans never got rid of, seemed to have made its way into Mormonism, which is part of the thing that fascinates me about it.
Oh yeah, Dutch paganism. Joseph Smith seems to have practiced Appalachian witchcraft, but
Yeah.
I talked to my friend who also practices that, and when I told her his understanding, she literally laughed because it was so poor. Because she was just like, "Wait, he was using this to hunt for treasure?" That, like, I think she used the term "dumbass." But
well, using the seer stones for anything is I know he was a professional dowser for a bit, but using the seer stones for anything but general scrying rather than religious purposes is not on. But that may be just me. I'll get out of Mormonism now, but one of those things that does fascinate me. So
I feel that for sure. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting though to see just kind of the influences. It's convenient for recons in some ways how much pagan info has been preserved and reutilized, because then from there it's just an academic pursuit. Like, a lot was lost, don't get me wrong. Like the sagas and eddas were all preserved by Christians, and there's some things that are very obviously enacted or whatever, and Adam and Eve pop up or something like that because a Christian was writing it down, and things like that you got to kind of to appropriate another Mormon term, you kind of got to use your discernment to kind of figure out with that. But Yeah. It's been nice, though, having spiritual communities that I'm in from my various traditions, whether that be heathenry or Hellenism or any of my other practices, that are open and accepting from my other experiences that were, like I'll just say a bit more traumatic.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean that there is some benefit to having a community that you can, at the very least, emotionally relate to, so that you don't feel completely alone. That said, I wanted to say one thing, which is the the last time I can remember desperately looking at magic was because I didn't know what to do about transitioning. And that was after I was an atheist. I was just like desperately looking for anything. Fun fact, I did not find a spell that could magically change any physical aspect of my body. I mean, yeah. I realize that's not like... So if you're talking about religious things, that's not necessarily the main purpose anyways. I was just emotionally not in a good place. Admittedly, I also like the aesthetics of religion. Some religious stuff. I mean, there's a reason I have tarot cards. And care about how to do readings correctly.
I feel that for sure.
And I even so like I can delve into this stuff even if I don't believe it. I know that potentially sounds weird, maybe, I don't know. But like, I mean, the reasoning for choosing the tarot deck that I did was because it was the tarot deck that spoke to me the most. On like an emotional level, is the only one that I felt any emotional connection with.
And of course mine didn't, because...
Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that your tarot deck just didn't... Look, it's because emotionally I'm somewhere between you and Sophia, Christy, and because of that, I wasn't able to end up with that.
So it's not so much. So it's not so much chaotic evil; it's just distractible evil.
But
that is why there are so many tarot decks.
Yeah,
but the Wonderland Tarot is the best. I'm just saying.
I mean, it's the best one to purchase.
I need the money.
So that Christy, because Christy did make that with someone, so
yes, with the
That's
first.
cool though.
God has provided his children with a multitude of choices in tarot decks, so that they might be satisfied.
Or you could simply say that if you wanted to, for fun, the deities created many religions so people could find the one that they could emotionally attach to. Or you could obviously take the idea of humanity created religions off of their experiences, some of which they explain through deities, and there's a lot of ways that things can be interpreted.
Or Jeremy Bearimy invented religion to keep humans at war.
Or
I thought that would work.
Or capitalists created... Look, there's a strong argument for... Sorry, I know I'm blurting out something relating to Christianity and not relating to paganism, but there's a strong argument that those people who created the Christian capitalist propaganda there's a strong argument for them being antichrists, since they are preaching a religion that is, they're preaching deities' goals which are unrelated to the religion itself. I don't know why I went there.
I never really understood Antichrist to be a pluralizable concept.
It always was supposed to be plural.
It was always supposed to be plural. Antichrist just means people.
They got singularized by that was after the popular version of the devil, because obviously the snake was just like a snake in the original Genesis. The story about the snake being the devil, that's a later story.
Oh yeah, that was...
I have a show with her. Her name's Kellen. Just kidding.
The essentially everything we think we know about Antichrist and the devil and such is not biblical. It is Dante. So.
Yep.
But yeah. to hit back in pagan, the one, well, I got lost. I'm sorry. I made the Jeremy Bearimy joke for stupid reasons, and I got lost in the actual point I wanted to do. I am sorry.
Okay.
That's okay. So.
I'm just thinking of word fun. It's a matter of the hyphen. Is it an antichrist or an antichrist?
No, it's
you got a hyphen in it.
I mean, I can go into it.
See, but that's me. I get amused by those.
Trans woman is two different words. I can go on a half hour diatribe on that if you really want me to, but
not until after the hour mark. Anyways, so something that because I actually at some point during this brought up the question list, and one of those questions was actually interesting because I'm not so familiar with paganism, but I am aware of abuse being a very human thing, and I know people always take parts of religion, or people oftentimes take parts of religion to excuse things and control people through that. And I don't know if you've necessarily been aware of stuff like this happening in the pagan community. I know it probably happens in every community, but I was just curious if you had any tips about that. I mean, partially in case someone who is in a pagan community hears this. I mean, that's even if you know about anything like this. I know that might be a bit of a complicated question, but I don't know what you know, Katia.
Oh no, yeah, that's a good. So I actually have some experience with this. There was, so like I mentioned, in regards to just knowing whether or not someone's a folkist, it doesn't take too much digging. Just once they say ethnic or misuse the term indigenous for themselves and they're white or something like that. But in terms of like avoiding abusive situations, it's pretty much the same as you would with, and you're right, it does happen in pagan circles. I will say, to pagan communities' credit, it tends to get called out aggressively rather than covered up, which is nice to see, because in Christianity you're used to more covering the toxic forms of Christianity anyway.
Yeah, that in some to some degree is the high degree of toxic masculinity in a lot of variants of Christianity. So it's a lot easier for men to be in a position of power in Christianity, and that's not. I mean, obviously, varies depending on the branch and the pastor or whatever, but like, it's definitely easier for it to get covered up, or the excuses for men to be listened to more if the man is abusive, or obviously there's the other end of toxic masculinity, which is that if the man is being abused, obviously in toxic masculine circles, the that can't possibly be true. Men can't. Sorry, I'm suddenly reminded of the anti-trans folk in UK who act like women can't rape. But yeah, sorry, I got off a little bit of a tangent. But yeah, I'm sure it does get called out more.
If I may,
Oh no,
Ocean,
yeah, you're good. But yeah, it's generally.
Oh, sorry. Ocean Keltoy and Wolf the Red have done some really good videos on them out. That's it. Sorry, and I interrupted.
Oh yeah, they definitely have. Oh no, you're totally good. I definitely support that recommendation hardcore. I'm friends with both of them, and I recommend their work and their content because they're very good at calling out sort of the some of the more known problematic. But like, it's really just if somebody is either saying a bunch of problematic stuff or if their vernacular can be interpreted as abusive, and I have experience with that. Thankfully, I wasn't abused directly, but I was in a pagan group for a while that essentially it ended up that the high priest there, because there was a high priest and a high priestess in this particular group, and the high priest kind of decided that he could literally tell people what they could or could not do, like wasn't respecting personal choices and stuff like that. So I got out of there very quickly as soon as I saw that happening, because it's just, when you see that sort of just kind of controlling, you can't do this, you can't do that, or you can't believe this, you can't believe that, or and especially if it goes outside of religion into like personal life stuff. At that point, that is fundamentally opposed towards most principles in most branches of paganism in the first place. And, it happens, but it's just something to notice, just like when you end up in an environment where you see some type of abuse happening, first thing to do is get out of there. And then the next thing to do is find non-toxic people in your communities that you trust and tell them.
And
sounds like sage advice. Yes.
Yeah, sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt you, Katia.
Oh no, that was about it. Just like from there, that's kind of how you get in situations to handle themselves, is by letting people know.
Yeah, and I also so what I was going after that is just in any sort of marginalized group, if you're in something that's not for lack of a better word, sanctioned by society, it's not very societally approved. Obviously that can make certain things scarier, because people don't want to end up super alone. And I realize the internet probably helps, but whoever you are, if you're listening to this, you matter. and and your opinions matter, and even if I disagree with them, in which case they are wrong opinions, but they still matter because sometimes I learn from wrong opinions. No, seriously, I'm far from, I'm not an objective knower of everything, and sometimes I say things that are completely wrong. Sometimes I make terrible mistakes. Sometimes I ask a horrible guest to end up on this show in an episode that is no longer available. But that being said,
oh dear,
it's okay. I know I keep bringing that up. It's a real problem. To some degree, it's easy to make fun of myself because I don't want to. Deep down, I don't want to put myself above people because deep down, I believe in anarchism. In the more technical sense, in that there is no, people shouldn't be above other people on a social political spectrum.
I want to tell an amusing story, and then I'm gonna pretty much shut up because story time is my thing. So story time and interviewing people, but oh darn it, I just got a notification for a service video and I hit it and putting it away. I was, for reasons which are hard to explain, I had to bunk with a neo-Nazi for a while, and this is when I was pretty deep in my studies, and one of the things I read for fun was a book called AD 999 by Christy Golden under the pseudonym Jadrian Bell, and it's a very syncretic book. It basically has all the religions are bits of the other, and I thought, okay, I'll make a little conversation, and I'm like, this is interesting. She has the mark on Fenrir's head, 666, which I thought was cute. I thought it was a cute little bit of syncretism, and he was like, Fenrir doesn't have a mark on his head. I'm like, you don't have enough material to have an apocrypha, and he's like, well, what lay is it in? Because he was reading the Poetic Eddas, because the Nazi version of the Poetic Eddas. And I'm like, okay, I'm done with you.
Oof.
I also read Fatherland around that time, and he was like, he insisted on reading it, and he said it was too mean to the Nazis. So,
I feel sorry for you, Christy.
I'm going to say this as somebody who is heathen and represents a lot of Norse paganism and part of that community. You cannot be too mean to a Nazi. There's no such thing as too mean to a Nazi. if you're not being if you're being mean to a Nazi, be meaner.
Yeah, pretty much. I very much agree, but it was. I do recommend this book, by the way, AD 999, for anybody who's pagan, or who has a knowledge of medieval Christianity, or both, or anybody who wants a damn fine read.
Sounds fun, yeah. I'll check that out.
I will say, when it comes to Nazis, I tend to have a gentler approach. I tend to go full mafia. It's fine. Like, it would suck if something happened to them, but like, I wouldn't regret it if anything happened to the person, and you don't need to. think about what I'm saying too deeply.
So you're saying you just want to talk in Minecraft?
In Minecraft. That's cool.
Yeah, that's it. We are past the hour mark, so technically we can go off topic. That said, we always like to still try to a little go on topic, and we only brushed the surface of paganism, as that is a branch of several different religions, as mentioned. And actually, another question, because I've brought up the questions and I'm apparently trying to do a good job hosting this episode for some reason. I am on point. So, Katia, what's your favorite part about paganism?
Oh, that's a hard one.
I know it's a hard question, and you don't have to pick just one, but I'm genuinely curious, because obviously you care about it, otherwise you wouldn't be a pagan. That's
Can I inject with a possible answer and a question, follow-up question to it? One of the things I found most charming about paganism, and particularly Norse paganism, is it does not entail the abdication of responsibility that is so prevalent in other religions, where you're not responsible for your own actions, and that it doesn't do that. And that's a part that I found charming, and I'm wondering if you had a similar experience, Katia.
Oh, that's up there. I completely agree, because that's the idea in heathenry. This is the case in Hellenism to a certain extent too, but in heathenry especially, like the name of the game is reciprocity, which means, like, all things that you do need to be like, if you're receiving something, then you get an equal exchange for that. Or like if you're giving something, you get something. You should expect something equal in return, kind of a thing, to try to make sure that your relationships with other people are healthy. And there's that both kind of, it's a nice balance of respect for systemic intersectionality, as well as making sure that you are also holding yourself responsible for your own actions within that framework. So that's definitely a huge thing for me. But then I would honestly say my answer is probably more simple. It's just the freedom. Like, there's not a whole lot of restriction in paganism, especially in the more, because I'm a hard polytheist specifically. I literally believe in multiple deities rather than like a duotheism or something more like strictly archetypal or whatever. But it's within that, that's part of why pagans and atheists make good allies, because if there's multiple gods to choose from, why on earth would I care if you're choosing to do praxis with one if you haven't had an experience with a deity? That way, like, it would be kind of weird for me to hold judgment on that. So it both allows my own personal freedom, but it also allows freedom for other people to live the way that they want to live, more so than pretty much any monotheistic tradition. I would probably venture to say, most monotheistic traditions. I can't say all, but yeah, that would be my answers, is the freedom and the subsequent tolerance and acceptance, respectively, that comes from that.
Yeah, I can, I can see that. And I mean, admittedly also, shit, I was gonna say something. Oh, reciprocity? Is that right?
Yep, you got it.
Okay. Yeah. That there are obviously aspects of that in culture, and like, even though I don't believe in paganism, just in general, there's a part of me that, like, I mean, I guess I feel bad if I'm not if I don't feel like if I feel like I'm getting too much and they're like, I don't see what they're getting out of it, I feel bad.
That makes sense. Yeah, in Heathenry, it's called the gifting cycle.
The when earlier when you were talking about being interested, even though you're not practicing Ozma, the one line that I couldn't remember because I had to make a joke because I am who I am. One of the great Christian scholars, Bart Ehrman, is an atheist, so you know. He's still.
Yeah. No, you just remind me of some of the reason why I avoided some of the aspects of my the Jewish culture, because I wanted my atheism accepted. So I've probably mentioned that before on here. You know what? I don't always know what I've said and what I haven't. And technically, I don't know what people have heard or remembered. So I suppose it doesn't matter if I
just can't remember whether I said it out loud.
If I've heard it, I remember it. You know that.
Well, the thing is, also, I don't remember what I say out of show and what I say in show always. There's some things I definitely don't say in show and have only said out of show. Because as much as I'd like to call myself an open book, there are still some things that I keep to myself.
It wasn't until Sophia exposed it on my on the show that I ever actually said which famous YouTuber lives in a block away from me.
Yeah.
Because I would talk about that off air only. It was important to me to do so.
Yeah, but I mean, that's
especially since I despise her.
Yeah, I mean, there's that aspect. I was so. I just to clarify, I don't mean this in a demeaning way, and hopefully I don't know how to best phrase it, but I mean, I guess I'll start. So the funniest and most joyous thing about Judaism is Passover. Admittedly, that is intentionally funny to some degree. I mean, you do drink until you can't tell the difference between the hero and the bad guy of the story, but
the good kind of Passover.
But like, I'm curious what is the funniest thing about paganism, and I mean it more in that sense than like a laughing at paganism, because I don't want to do that. I just mean like, because I mean also Thor dressed up like Freya and had a party in Norse mythology. Like there are funny stories in like everything. I was just curious what you found the most endearing, funny, not necessarily not the laugh at funny. I am extra like tight-roping because I don't want to be mean about religions that I don't believe in.
You're totally good, and I also experience social anxiety, so I am empathizing with everything, all the caveats, everything. I completely feel you. I want you to know I am not at all offended. But I don't know. I feel like, and there's also part of it is there's some deliberate humor in Heathenry in the first place. I feel like if a religion can't laugh at itself to a certain extent, that's probably evidence that it's less worthy of people's time, because laughter is part of the human experience.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, to be fair, I was born and raised Jewish, so there was already a lot of making fun of things, so...
That's fair. I don't know. I'd say in the biggest time I ever laughed in paganism actually came from the lore. I forget which saga it is. But when Thor is going to give his horse to Baldur, Odin comes in and says, just kind of jokingly, because of who Thor is married to, hey, you shouldn't give that horse to the son of a giantess. Rather, you should give it to Odin. Kind of like, give the horse to me. And then Thor gives it to his Baldur anyway, because yeah. So yeah, that's probably the part that made me laugh the most.
Yeah, and give the horse to him. Odin's a dick, isn't he?
Sometimes, but I do praxis with him, so I can't judge too harshly.
Well, I mean, like,
But yeah,
I only remember so much Norse mythology, so I mean, obviously Odin gave his eye in some part of Yggdrasil, and I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. I just I copied someone who may or may not have been pronouncing it right, probably in the Thor movies. I don't know. Christy, you're muted. You're still muted. You muted yourself, Christy, and you haven't unmuted yourself.
Good.
Oh, sorry, I gotta correct
something.
Say
something.
Go ahead. Sorry.
About the horse and Balder, he you know, it would have been cooler, you know, or a cooler story if the Thor said, you know, my dad told me that you're going to be dead within a week. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that.
Oh God.
Also, I misspoke when I said Baldur. I actually meant Mothi. I caught myself afterwards. I was like, oh, whoops.
Oh, yeah.
I know it was kind of like, well, it depends on if you go by oral tradition or by the Edda. I suppose the Edda would be the better move. Go by Larry Lieber and Jack Kirby, which, you know, who doesn't?
God, no, damn it. No, now you've got me on Marvel. I'm just thinking about WandaVision now because I'm caught up. Okay. Wait, have you guys seen WandaVision?
Yes, I have.
Nope.
Are you caught up?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Perfect. What about you?
No, I haven't, but
do you care?
I'm not concerned about spoilers.
Katia.
I haven't seen any of it, but you can spoil away. I'm not worried.
Okay. So
spoiler
warning.
for the audience.
I am probably going to talk about WandaVision for a little bit. My best guess is that you can if you want to be extra safe, you can fast forward ahead 15 minutes. That said, if you're watching WandaVision and you care, chances are you've been caught up, and even if you didn't care, chances are you've already been spoiled.
Christy looks like Catherine Hahn. That's the spoiler.
The spoiler is that I really like WandaVision. Even though that doesn't even have anything to do with Norse mythology, you have a witch who almost got crucified by other witches for learning dark magic too quickly, and Wanda Maximoff essentially finding out that she's like she is in the comics, like a central figure and can mess with reality. Wanda Maximoff is the most powerful being in the Marvel universe and is now definitely the most powerful being in the MCU. 100%.
I disagree on if she's the most powerful. She's second or third.
Oh, wait, who do you have above her?
Excluding the Celestials. Sure. Now I'm completely blanking here. The Phoenix Force 1. And I don't know, Ant-Man, just because why not? I've forgotten the other one.
Oh wait, Phoenix Force 1?
No, Phoenix Force 1 sounds like a very bad movie. Of course, Phoenix Force 2 was a bad movie. The Phoenix Force.
Wait, who are the Phoenix Force?
If you don't know the comics, then
wait. Oh, you mean okay? Sorry, you mean in terms of the comics? She's not the most powerful person.
Yeah, and Shaper of Worlds is not a celestial, so he would count too.
Yeah, look, everything wrong is happening in WandaVision, and I love that. Sorry. I'm gonna. Well, I don't even know what I want to geek out about. That's the problem. I'm like, I mean, I know her power was likely sent her from Wanda Max, or was hardcore awakened by another Wanda Maximoff from a different dimension. That a lot of this probably deals with how the universe breaks apart or whatever, because there's 2 multiverse movies coming out, so they're definitely going to dive into the multiverse in the MCU. You have that one guy who I am really thinking is Mephisto, or one of the other was it Chthon? Whatever.
Thon. The C is silent.
Okay. Yes. And basically they're going into a bunch of weird comic shit, and I love it.
Thon is from mythology. He replaced in the comics Thrag, the conceiver of worlds. I can't remember the exact title, which was dumb, and that was Howard the Duck. So,
which Howard the Duck is the most powerful character in the MCU, actually.
I agree with you.
Shit. I forgot about Howard the Duck.
Of course, at conventions, I used to be mistaken for Seth Green when I looked a lot different. Mm-hmm. And I finally realized I made it when I got a message from him that he'd been mistaken for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was so thrilled.
That is. Look, Look, this past year and a half has been weird. What with the pandemic, with me taking over a show, with other stuff. I wasn't expecting to meet YouTubers or whatever and talk with other YouTubers. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. Look, my life has been weird. And I've been in a weird mood, and I got 4 hours of sleep, so, like, I'm already in a weird place. And it's just, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with things. Someone please say something. I am spiraling into a void of constant stream of thought conversation while I desperately attempt to try to think of something to say, because I don't want this to turn into the episode where I was randomly seeing Les Miserables far too fast.
This is, once in a while we take a meal break when you get too distracted, so we just don't let you know.
Oh, wait.
I'm being silly. That came up much meaner than I expected. I'm sorry.
Actually, Katia, do you have any, I mean, I realize Disney is a nightmare. I guess, out of curiosity, because you deal with a lot of Norse stuff, what is your opinion of how the MCU has handled aspects of the mythology? I know nothing can be completely hammered down with that stuff, but I'm genuinely curious about that. What?
Hammered down.
Hammered down, so to speak.
God damn it. God damn it.
I'll be perfectly honest. As far as the Norse mythology-based MCU movies go, I've only seen the first Thor movie, and that was when it first came out. So I'm not the... I am a comic book fan, but I have not really kept up as much with the MCU as I probably could.
Well, I mean, no one should decide what you should or shouldn't enjoy. So, like...
Oh, yeah.
I know I have a friend who does not care at all about Star Wars.
That's valid. I have a complicated relationship with the MCU, mainly because I have like a huge ass comic book selection, but I in my house, but I don't know. I kind of go in and out of the MCU, and I think what I will say is that there are some inaccuracies from what I can tell in terms of the lore. A lot of those are, creative differences. Some of them are based on what's in the comics and stuff. And I do at some point plan on actually making a video going through some of the Norse myths and kind of comparing them to the Marvel comic books. But what
that my believe it or not, my senior paper was on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That is awesome.
But what I'll say is, the Marvel movies, in a lot of ways, I feel like definitely get a lot of people interested in heathenry. And so I'm not necessarily, while I genuinely do not care what anyone outside of myself believes, I'm also not necessarily going to complain about that. I don't think it's the MCU is, there are definitely some things that were not one for one on how the lore works, but I don't think it was anywhere near as egregious in terms of changing the lore up as like the Disney's Hercules movie was. Because that movie did not make sense. I mean, it made sense in and of itself for itself, but like, that's not the story of Hercules or Heracles.
Look,
or any random mummy movie for that matter.
Here's the thing. I am reminded of a meme from making fun of one aspect of the Hercules movies, which was the greatest inaccuracy that Disney has ever made is making Zeus a loving husband and father.
Actually, do you all know Aliakai?
Yeah. I was just talking to her on my channel. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, she's got a great video on is Zeus a predator, but I do get from a
Yes.
a lore perspective that yeah, as far as the lore is concerned, that's how Disney handled that was not the most accurate, to say the least. But yeah, it just like the whole oh, so he's the hero. Okay, so he's like Jesus, right? So he becomes a god. So it's like let's make that like Jesus. Okay, well who's the Lord of the Underworld? Hades. Okay, so let's make him the villain of the movie. I don't remember any of this being in the 12 Labors when I read them.
Yeah, Hades. Hades is a chill emo dude, from my recollection.
Basically, yeah.
I mean, to be fair, he can only see his wife half the year.
Yeah, Persephone.
Yeah.
Which is why he's blue.
That was clever. Oh.
Second time today I've been accused of being clever. Okay.
Yeah, with me and comics, I'm very tertiarily aware of comic stuff. I mean, not that I don't have any comics. I've got one comic series. There is one comic series that I genuinely want to read more. It's not like a super well liked one by a lot of people. I just like it. It's something to do with dreams and shit. I honestly can't remember the name of it, and it's in my closet somewhere, and I'm not gonna dig it out.
Is it Sandman by Neil Gaiman?
Don't think so. I don't think so.
I was going to say it's the most popular comic book series of all time. So.
Yeah, no, this was not a popular comic series.
Oh, I see. It's more obscure. If you want to get obscure, I'll bring up Forceworks. Let's see if anyone knows that reference.
I am a comic book junkie, and you want to quiz me anytime or day, I'm there. Especially Wonder Woman, as nice. Everybody here knows.
Yeah,
I wanted to be Wonder Woman when I was a kid.
I just have like I don't have anything handy Wonder Woman. So. I have a book of all the early Marvel comics.
Oh shit! Like the Amazing Fantasy stuff?
It's just a book with a bunch, like the first. It was one of those reprint things, so not early Marvel comics, sorry, early X-Men. It's just like a bunch of the old X-Men where you have Magneto being like, wait, how did you, where it's just like, how did Magneto mind control, the frog guy, and it was just because of his magnetic personality. No joke. It's in early X-Men comics. Magneto's powers are ridiculous, and they stretch them ridiculously far in terms of just excuses to make magnet jokes.
In X-Men #1, Professor X was in love with Jean Grey, so they didn't keep that very long.
Yeah.
Because seriously creepy, but
yeah, because she was just a teenager, and he was like 30, and
I have how many comics do I have? 25,000 somewhere in there. They're all digitized. They're all digitized at this point. and a lot of digital from microfiche, which has been invaluable in getting some of the obscure stuff. So I've read every Wonder Woman story from origin to, or from appearance to 1994, somewhere in there. And Wonder Woman junkie. Does that make it? Yeah, I was very fond of what Jack Kirby. Once Jack Kirby took over the writing of Thor, he tried very hard to make it as accurate to the system as possible.
Jack Kirby was an amazing comic writer. I like a lot of his works. The original Daredevil, and gosh, yeah, he did a lot. It was very, very influential. Fun fact, we would not have the TMNT if Eastman and Laird weren't Jack Kirby fanatics making parodies of his works.
Yeah, because the accident that blinds Daredevil or whatever is that same stuff. Turns turtles into anthropomorphic turtles.
I'm going to stand up for Bill Everett and Wally Wood, who created Daredevil. Jack Kirby
gotcha.
Jack Kirby and Don Heck came on as fillers after Wally Wood left for DC and Bill Everett left for the Sky.
Noted. Thank you.
It's okay. That was not an actually. Please, I do actually. I find this stuff fascinating. So,
what's your position on the Bill Finger Bob Kane thing?
Bill Finger. He's finally getting credit, so it's kind of hard to say, but he's. I think now the backlash is so much that Bob Kane's actual contributions are getting overshadowed. But between Finger, why am I not Sprague, but something that sounds very similar to that, and Bob Kane, they should all have gotten credit, but Bob Kane was smart by copywriting it first. So, what do you want?
Yeah, unfortunate. I feel like the Steve Ditko Stan Lee thing was a little different. I don't, because it's usually portrayed as the exact same thing, but I feel like in that situation, it felt like Ditko was being a little bit more petty than Finger.
Ditko is a wonderful artist. He's petty as fuck.
Yeah, that's my take too. He's also, I'll just say I don't necessarily agree with his politics.
The very last issue of Blue Beetle at Charlton that was published, the issue we do for after that was published later, but the very last issue, the enemy, the villain was somebody who believed in modern art as opposed to representational art, which gives you some idea of how fucked up Steve Ditko's politics kind of were.
Wait.
Yeah.
So, the problem... which art was considered the bad art?
Modern art as opposed to representational art.
Oh,
which is a very...
That's a red
It's a
flag.
very Ayn Rand thing, which is funny because Frank Ayn Rand's husband was a representational artist, modern artist, but not a representational artist.
Yeah.
His covers are all over her books.
Yeah. No, the art thing is from my understanding, the art thing is one of those red flags with regards to certain types of fascist thinking. Because they're the fascist liking, they're the out and out fascists, and then they're the people who are comfortable with and deify fascism and kings and queens ruling over you and making decisions for you.
I said to someone yesterday on the trans thing that freedom does not mean us marching to your drum. If we are forced to do so, then you have freedom and we do not. At which point I was promptly blocked. So
Yeah, well.
And that does bring it around a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it might be Night Mask comics. I'm not sure. Sorry.
Night Mask comics?
Sorry. I really went. Look, I was simultaneously listening to you guys and also looking up to try to figure out the comic that is in the closet. And that's an interesting metaphor. Maybe it's... Yes, it is Night Mask. I like Night Mask.
Somebody has to.
Ouch.
Oof.
Oh, wow. Harsh. No, I mean,
That came out That came out mean. That was not my intention.
no, it's fine.
I've got an edge.
Joking.
I've got an edge on today because of personal things, as you all know. So.
Yeah, no, it's you know, I think we I don't actually know if we all, but I know I definitely still like the fucking cinema wins thing about some movies. Every movie is somebody's favorite.
What's my favorite movie? You know what it is.
It's the guy, the person with the mirrors. God damn it. It's a musical. I watched it. You got me to watch it, and I can't remember the name of it. Oh my god. That's good. No, this is bothering me. I know it. I know what the movie is. What? Rockula. Yes. And that is the perfect name for a movie about a reincarnated pirate trying to kill the main character's love interest. And the reincarnated pirate is doing things partially by taking advice from a really shitty tarot reader. Did she do tarot? Whatever.
And
boy, I feel boring. Citizen Kane.
Oh, Citizen Kane's awesome, but Rockula's great. I mean, if you want to get into that, Bringing Up Baby is actually probably my favorite movie. But Rockula is the one that
I don't even know what my favorite movie is. God damn it! Wait, Katia, what's your favorite movie? Quick, buy me some time.
Probably, if I had to pick one off the top of my head, probably anything by Hayao Miyazaki or Hayao Castle.
Okay.
I think if I had to guess, it's a tough choice between Paprika and the Spanish film with the guy with the eyeballs on his hands.
Pan's Labyrinth?
Sorry, more than one person talked at once.
We went very different areas, so.
Oh, but I don't know what each of you said.
Oh, I said Pan's Labyrinth?
Yes.
And I said Le Chat Andalou.
Yeah, Pan's Labyrinth. It would be a tough choice for me between Paprika or Pan's Labyrinth.
Those are
apparently
both
just
fantastic
keywords.
choices.
Yeah, familiar with Pan's Labyrinth.
Paprika was in animated movie
that
from
Paprika,
Japan.
not the other one. Okay, I was like, weird flex, but go for it.
Paprika is an animated movie from originally from Japan. I think it was the same guy who did Tokyo Godfather. I think it's the same director. It's very much a heavy dream-related mindfuck, and I saw it in a theater, and oh my god, it is a wonderful movie to watch in a theater. And I just love the it definitely has one of my favorite openings. But yeah, it's I mean, it's a woman who goes diving into dream related stuff. Weird. My favorite comics, Night Mask, and my two favorite movies relate to dream stuff. Coincidence?
5 of my 10 favorite TV shows are time travel shows. So.
Oh yeah, what's your favorite TV show? I don't know why we're going down this route, but I am going down this route because I really want to know now.
Well, The Good Place is by far at this point, but prior to that, it was Life on Mars, Ashes to Ashes, which is a British TV series, and yes, it went under both titles, and it's a little confusing because season 1 and 2 is Life on Mars, season 3 through 4 is Ashes to Ashes, and the last season wraps up both of them. So, there's a Canadian show called Being Erica, which I adore, which is also a time travel show. I mean, I adore beyond imagination. So those kinds of things. Yeah, I love time travel. It's a thing. But when you say Paprika, make sure you say the Japanese movie Paprika, because there is another one that you definitely don't mean.
Gotcha.
That's why I said weird flex, but okay.
Yeah, no, I was talking about the like I said, I think it's the same director as Tokyo Godfather, and it's a wonderful movie. I want to say it was like, I don't know, 2010-ish time period. Oh fuck, I just remembered another movie I really like, but that's not my favorite. Sorry, I was randomly thinking about the 2000 anime Metropolis, not the original. I've never seen the original.
I was gonna say Metropolis too. I was gonna say it for you, not for me. I loved it, but you know.
Yeah, it's but yeah, Katia or Perfict, what's your favorite TV show?
Don't both go at once. Favorite TV show? I'm really not sure. I'm thinking about it.
Fair. What about you, Katia? Do you have a favorite TV show?
I do. So I actually have 3. It's hard to pick one, but The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Courage the Cowardly Dog, and Cobra Kai.
Sorry, what was the last one?
Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai. Oh, okay. Me, I will reveal something nobody would have expected. My favorite TV show is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'm sorry. That show doesn't have that show. Well, for one thing, I've read up to I've read up to the 7th series in that. Look, things get weirder and weirder each season because Araki does not give a fuck, clearly. Because I mean, at some point, that you're like in an alternate reality where one of the characters has like a grill that says his name, and they are searching for the pieces of a stand, because apparently Jesus was a stand in the JoJo universe, but the president, who is a villain in that, is also trying to get the pieces of the Jesus stand, and also the main characters are trying to win a horse race. That is a real, genuine plot, and I love.
I know. We all sort of went really light with the going deep into something that that like that. It's JoJo is hard to summarize in any direction.
So Ozma, you could say you stan JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Here.
I'm sorry, I had to.
Yes,
if I thought about it, I would have. So don't worry.
I mean, I would, but at the moment, I'm busy spiraling around the. God damn it! That show, everything about that manga is weird, and I can't wait until I see the Dio Were Velociraptor version of Dio Brando. I don't think the last name's the same, but god damn it, I need to see a Were Velociraptor. This needs to be. This is something really important that I need to see in anime. Were Velociraptors.
Now you see, a lot of this I liked Cheers because as a series, it was just a pleasant thing that went on. And then at the end, they managed to turn it into a profound commentary. By Cheers, the show Cheers. It's like 11 seasons.
Yeah, fun fact is the plans for this show. No, just...
She's never heard of it. It's not Japanese. It's not.
Wait, what? Wait. What? Wait. No, I'm curious
Cheers,
now,
it's
I read a lot of manhwa.
Friends in a bar in Boston.
Oh, no, I know Cheers.
Right. That's all it is.
I was busy at that.
So really liked that. I liked House. It was kind of entertaining and it was fairly compelling as a series. And then once again, at the ending, they managed to make it do something with the writing where they framed the entire series to have been something that you could have realized it was all along, that it was a buddy picture. They tell you it's a buddy picture and you're like, oh my God, it was a buddy picture. It started out all along.
Not a fan of the intersex episode.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That was a bit of a problem.
Medically, they get a lot of crap kind of wrong, but I mean, well. I mean, that's.
I've watched every episode, including the reconstructions of the missing ones, and every spin-off of Doctor Who. So there's that.
Ooh,
I suppose I like.
See, I've only watched
5 years to do that.
So I've only watched some of the first season. I've watched some of the Fourth Doctor, the Tom Baker one, and a couple episodes at least of the Seventh Doctor, and I watched the Eighth Doctor movie, and I think I only saw one episode of the Ninth Doctor, and I think I watched all of David Tennant's Doctor, all of the David Tennant ones, and then I watched the first season. I didn't get around to finishing the second season of the Matt Smith one, and then I kind of dropped off Doctor Who for a bit.
I put them all on MKVs on discs, on DVDs, so that MKV to compress them, and it took 72 discs, and that was in the middle of Matt Smith. It was up to the 50th anniversary.
I assume you don't have the missing episodes.
I watched. There's reconstructions. No audio is missing from any of the episodes, and there are set pictures from and at least some of all but three episodes.
Yeah. Anyway, I only watched the
Doctor Who is way too. That's too big, though. I think.
I really liked the first Doctor. Sorry,
I was very well. The Doctor Who revamped in 2005, which is the year I got very sick. So when it started getting into, okay, this is a callback to, I'm the type who gets obsessive. So I went, okay, this calls back to. There's a callback to Fourth Doctor Evolution of the Daleks, but that was part of a season-long arc. So I said, okay, well, I'll start with the first season. I'll start with that season, but the first season continues on from something that happened to the second Doctor. So at some point, I just said, "Fuck it," and started from the beginning.
I just wanted to start from the beginning, but I don't know, Katia, have you watched much Doctor Who?
I have seen up to the first half of the Matt Smith season in regards to starting with the Eccleston. And then because whenever that one was, I've seen 2 episodes of the old series, because one of which was when he fought like himself from the future, but he was evil or something. Well, like in the one that was like 60s or 70s, where Gallifrey was still a thing.
Yeah, there's 3 of those. So, and it's wibbly wobbly, as they say.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
So I don't talk much Doctor Who because I have no one who, even Vera starts to go, you know too much about this. I can't keep up. Which is like, okay, but I have my obsessions.
Okay, but okay.
The only thing I haven't seen is the 2nd through 6th episode of Class.
Okay,
which you didn't even know existed until just now.
Okay, I will say, I'm sorry. Like my favorite moment from the first Doctor in Doctor Who will always be when everyone but like one of the characters is under an illusion, but they show things how it like really is, because I mean they don't have much set, and it's just like you see the Doctor going and he's just like, look at this amazing piece of technology, like how do they even like create something like this? And it's just like a cup or whatever, like an old jug. It's just like I loved that whole scene.
Yeah, commonly referred to as the Stoner episode.
That said, we are
and it was
reaching...
Genesis of the Daleks. I made a mistake in the title, and you know I can't go without correcting the mistake I made.
So how does all this relate to the LGBTQ community and paganism? See?
Well,
now we
how
got to
it
relate
relates
it back.
is Doctor Who is loved by, presumably by pagans and LGBTQ people.
Alike, yes.
Can you agree, as our currently now we are utilizing you as a token pagan for the purposes of ascribing an entire view onto every aspect of pagan culture?
Oh yeah, all pagans agree with me completely. There's never any argument or difference between two pagans ever. We all think the exact same thing. No, I'm kidding, of course. Quite the opposite, in fact.
But
I don't know. You got me onto geek topics, and you know I'll go.
Yeah, I know. Does that help? And you get really sidetracked by geek topics, and I get really distracted by geek topics. And look, I only got 4 hours of sleep. I'm blaming this for everything. Perfect. Where can people find you?
I'm blaming that. I'm blaming 4 hours of sleep for me too, because my personal life is a little weird right now.
Anyways, perfect. Where can people find you?
The Rumpus Room, a Discord channel, and of course I'm here a lot. But
Yeah, you are. I see you in Rainbow Shelter News and the chat a lot too.
Oh, I show up. Yes, I watch. I like the shows that this channel puts out.
Weird. Poor taste.
And if he ever answers my email, hopefully we'll. I'm gonna try and do a special episode with him on my channel.
Okay.
I sent you an email a couple days ago. Sorry.
I only did Perfect because Perfect has very little to say. Katia, where can people find you?
I'm Katia Odinsen on YouTube. I had Twitter, but I've been suspended from there for now. So,
wait, is it related to the Twitter drama that happened a couple days ago?
A bunch of TERFs targeted some people. I'm not saying that everything I've ever done on Twitter has been perfect, but the reason why I got suspended was TERFs.
Gotcha.
But Katia Odinsen on YouTube. Katia Odinsen En.
Yes, and people can find you every week on Wednesday on Transgarter, correct?
Yep, and every Wednesday on Transgarter as well. Yep.
Christy, where can people find you? And this episode will come out next week, so just keep that in mind in terms of what you're working on, what you want to talk about, the fact that you're working on. Although I do really want to allow Patreon patrons to be able to view pre-recorded episodes early if they want, because that would give us money.
Christy Abbey, spelled like it is on here, except for that, with no space in between the two, is my main YouTube channel. Chris Abbey Music is my second one. That's Christy without the TY. I am working on something that isn't working, which is why I want Perfict to help me with it. And I'm still trying to reschedule Scott Nice Wonder's interview, which we'll get it. And I'll maintain
my jealousy, despite the fact that you know more about comics and deserve to be able to talk with Scott Nice Wonder.
I'm working on a couple things on my channel, but I don't really want to talk about it yet.
Okay.
I'm here on this show, and I'm on the Wednesday show, which name escapes me constantly.
Rainbow Shelter News.
Rainbow Shelter News, and Normality Quake on Twitter, and there's something really important. Oh yeah. Steve Shives will be interviewing me on his channel on March 29th, with proceeds going to I haven't decided Trevor Project or Human Rights Campaign yet.
Nice.
So that'll be fun.
Yeah. And I am Ozma in the Dark. You can find me at Talking to Nothing on Twitter. That's Talking to Nothing minus the G at the end. You can find me at Ozma in the Dark on YouTube and Twitch and stuff. And you have and OzmaInTheDark.com is a website that allows you to, quick click and find me if you want to find where you can stalk me. Please stalk me. I'm into that now. No, no,
you gotta watch it with that.
At those places, and I believe, since this is a pre-record, I believe next episode will be the call-in episode if my brain is working correctly on timing. So feel free to share, comment, like, and subscribe, ring the bell, and
we have a Patreon. We
do have a Patreon, and you can watch pre-recorded episodes early on there if you want to. And am I forgetting something?
The benediction at the end. We do the prayer.
Oh,
with
yeah.
Like, comment, and subscribe, and then
that's what I said.
Your voice matters. Your life matters. Your voice matters, and you matter.
Yes, because you do matter.
I almost got it wrong.
Oh no. It must be a disease of mine spreading over the internet. I'm slowly leeching that off of you, because now I know it correctly, and you almost got it wrong. The tables have turned, Christy.
Yeah, that's okay.
But anyways,
I was the DJ. I know about turntables. I'm good.
Anyways, have a good one. Bye.
Peace.